I will never forgive my mother for getting me hooked on romantic comedies. That's right, I blame her. And I blame the screenwriters, the directors, the gorgeous actors for making my expectations so high. Some days, I take a few extra seconds before getting on the subway, and I hope that it's some handsome stranger who keeps the door open. I'll step on, thank him with a smile, and maybe it's then I realize that he's wearing the shirt of a local band that I like. I'll ask him how he knows them, and then, to my surprise, it's the lead singer standing right in front of me. I know what you're thinking. Ridiculous. And it is. It's absurd. Almost as absurd as spending hours every Sunday at my local coffee shop convinced that one day someone's gonna come in need of a place to sit, and when my table has the only empty chair, they'll be forced to sit down and will inevitably fall in love. Like I said, I blame the movies. I want to check out the local dating scene, and when hours of sitting in cafes buying overpriced coffee got me nowhere, I stooped to a new low. After one too many glasses of wine and some less than helpful encouragement from my friends, I downloaded Tinder. I knew no amount of swiping would find me my Ryan Gosling or Liam Hemsworth, but a girl can dream of more than bucket hats and guys holding dead fish, can't she? The best thing about meeting in person, you navigate eye contact, the occasional awkward silence. That is nowhere near as complicated as the world of emojis and texts that say, "You up?" The other day, a guy sent me that at 4 p.m. Of course I'm up. Why wouldn't I be up? Who's not up? But some days I wonder if I'm a hopeless romantic or just hopeless. Am I a traditionalist when it comes to dating? Or do I just spend too long looking at every photo I upload to my profile until I find something wrong with it? The last guy I matched with, he was messaging me about how much he hated online dating and how shallow it was. And he's right, of course, but this is the same guy who asked me what I'm studying. Econ. I'm studying econ. It's right there in my bio. It's practically the only thing in my bio. That and how do you take your coffee? I don't care. Why did I put that there? I am so over pretending to care. I'm not even excited when I get notifications anymore. I'm too nervous it's going to be something disgusting or the ever interesting, not at all overused hey. Maybe my life would be easier if I just got rid of all these apps. I know I'm not going to find the love of my life when we both reach for the same Jane Austen novel, but it sure as hell isn't going to be on one of these. I'm not even going to check it. I don't have to. I already know it's not worth my time. Damn it.
So yesterday I had a job interview. Was it the moment that I had been preparing for my entire life? The first step towards my dream career? The beginning of the rest of my life? No, not even close. It was an office temp job that my cousin texted me about because she knew I was between jobs at the time and had bills to pay. I spent over 45 minutes trying to part my hair. Of course, this was after trying on 6 different blazers in a Macy's with an employee who was just as excited for her shift as I was for this interview. I was looking at old pictures the other day. I'm sitting here with the 4th shade of lipstick I finally decided on, but when I was 5, I used to run around in overalls and my favorite purple socks. I think I had time to care what other people thought of me back then. The only reason I ever let my mother pull my hair back with this ugly purple scrunchie was because having my hair out of my face made it easier for me to climb the apple tree in the front yard. So, yeah, I grew my hair out through middle school. By high school, it was almost down to my waist. I remember waking up over an hour earlier than my brother because straightening it was a full body workout. I never actually told anyone this, but I used to keep my scrunchie in my backpack, and I used it a few times during gym class, but when the other girls stared, I just left my hair down. Yeah, I read something somewhere that described your 20s as like just doing everything you wanted to do when you were younger, but without the added guilt. I think back to high school, the supposed golden years or our prime, and most of what I remember includes crippling insecurity. I'd get nervous just trying to open my locker. When I thought people were looking at me, my hands would start sweating. If that wouldn't help any. I would imagine everyone standing there staring at me, all thinking, wow, she can't even open a locker. I had the same thoughts studying in the library, walking through the halls, even sitting on the bus with my headphones in. I would triple check that my headphones were actually plugged in because God forbid anyone know I was listening to Fleetwood Mac. When I was 10, my parents got one of those new fancy in-house Bluetooth speakers, so they let me use their old radio. I would shamelessly play any and every hit from the 80s in the front yard for all to hear. You think I sang a single note on key? You think I cared when the neighbors walked their dog and stared as I listened to Guns N' Roses? Okay, maybe the staring was because I was a bit young for Guns N' Roses, but that's beside the point. Sometimes I wonder what she would think. That version of me dancing in the grass, picking flowers to put in my ponytail and the pockets of my overalls. What would she think?
Mozart was crazy. Flat fucking crazy. Bad shit, I hear. But his music's not crazy. It's balanced, it's nimble, it's crystalline clear. There's harmony, logic. You listen to these. You don't hear his doubts or disease. You scan through the score and put fingers on keys and you play. Everything else goes away. Everything else goes away. And you play till it's perfect. You play till you ache. You play till the strings or your fingernails break. So you'll rock that recital and get into Yale. So you won't feel so sick and you won't look so pale. Cause you got your full ride and you're early admit. So you're done with this school and with all of this shit. And you graduate early, you're gone as of May. And there's nothing your paranoid parents can say. And you know that it's just a sonata away. And you play. And you play. And everything else goes away. Everything else goes away. Everything else goes away.
I don't know what day it is.
You could tell me Christmas was next week and I wouldn't even be surprised I waited so long to buy gifts. You could tell me it was my birthday and I might believe you. I used to have tea with my neighbor every morning. I told her I stopped because I started sleeping in instead, but that's not true. I'm awake at the same time, even earlier some days. I just couldn't stand the stupid questions she'd ask. How are you? How am I? She follows it with something worse. She's on her second cup by the time she asks, well, what have you been up to? I'd like to tell her I've taken up jogging. But she'd take one look at the spotless running shoes that haven't left my porch since last April and know I was lying through my teeth. I'd like to say I had an idea. The truly perfect idea for the next hit film or bestseller. But I'd be lying. You can go online and find people preaching that now is the best time to explore your talents and be creative. Just last week I sat down to do a paint by number and I swear my blood pressure went up. I tried meditation. And when I closed my eyes, I could actually see time passing and the growing to-do list of all the things I was supposed to be doing and enjoying. Instead, my accomplishments range from putting leftovers into Tupperware and calling it meal prep to finding a new tube of toothpaste under the sink. I know what you're thinking. Riveting. How do you tell someone that one of your hobbies has become counting the cobwebs you can see from your sofa in the corners of your living room? And you could dust and get them down, but you don't want to. And it's not that you can't. God knows you're not too busy. You just don't want to. It's not like you've got guests coming over anytime soon. No one's around to judge the laundry pile growing at the foot of your bed. If anything, I realized how much of me having my shit together was just an act I put on for an audience consisting of my peers. It's got me wondering if any of them feel the same way. And I could call them, but the only thing worse than the painful conversations I once had with my neighbor over tea would be the same conversations over the phone.
I've learned something. Something I think the world should know. Something I think everyone could benefit from. I've made a remarkable discovery, and I can't be the only one. There's no way no one else has considered this, and yet no one's talking about it. This is big. Like uncovering the secret of the universe. Big. I don't know what I'm doing. Crazy, isn't it? I can't think of the last time I actually felt like I was on the right track or headed in the direction I'm supposed to be. For one to be on track, one must have a sense of direction, and I still confuse my lefts and rights. At first, I thought maybe that was the root of the issue, but then I started thinking. I looked around and I started to wonder, does anyone? Seriously, does anyone truly know what they're doing? Are there really people who reach a point in their life where they have it all figured out, or is that just a myth adults tempt their children with, hoping they'll be half normal and at least have some of their shit together when they grow up? Is it just a fairy tale? A concept no different than Santa Claus or the Tooth Fairy? Are we all just walking around assuming other people know something that we don't? So we wake up thinking everyone else knows what's going on, right? And if that's the case, then I should too. So now I have to pretend I do. Don't come at me with that fake it till you make it bullshit. I've been faking it for 20 years. Isn't that just being fake? Pretending? Lying. That's right. Parents are teaching their kids to lie. I can't be the only one seeing an issue here, and I can't be the only one who is sick of pretending they've got it all figured out when just this morning my breakfast consisted of last night's spaghetti and I am wearing 2 different socks right now. I'm not quirky or laid back or trying to make a statement. I haven't done my laundry in 3 weeks and I am running out of options. And I know I'm not the only one. Okay, the spaghetti and socks thing, that could just be me, but is anyone else tired? We spend our days pretending to have a clue, but who are we doing it for? Are we waiting for the magical morning when we're suddenly no longer faking anything and we actually have it all figured out? I mean, you want to talk about fairy tales? That right there. Fiction. It's not happening. We're never going to reach the golden checkpoint where it all just makes sense, so maybe we should stop waiting for a day that isn't coming. Is it the worst to say I don't know something? A lot of some things. We're taught in school to raise our hand if we have a question, but after that, you're on your own. Except you're not, especially if my theory holds true. None of us actually know everything. We don't have it all figured out, so why waste energy pretending to? What are we trying to prove?
Good morning and welcome to the year 2001, the blaze of fireworks and celebrations around the world to usher in the new year last night were eclipsed only by...
We met, of all places, in front of Christie's, some freakishly cold winter's day. I had on several unflattering layers of wool. He slipped on the ice with his grocery bags full, so I rescued some Fruit Loops he'd dropped by the curb, and he made some remark that my smile was superb. I thought that was sweet, and I started to go when he said, "Hey, what you doing tomorrow? Because I'll be here at the corner of Bleecker and Mercer tomorrow at 7. If you want to meet up, I'll be waiting right here. And in case there are two fellas waiting for you, my name's John." He waved and then he was gone.
The new millennium with some music from the incomparable opera star Renee Fleming.
Also, one of this country's best pairs skating teams is going to be performing for us this morning at Rockefeller Center on the ice skating.
Needless to say, I went back there to meet him, mostly to see if he'd show. And there he was, out in the cold with his jacket pulled tight. He took me to dinner and kissed me goodnight. The next week we went to this terrible play, and the week after that drank hot chocolate all day. And suddenly, 8 or 9 months had flown by when he said, "Hey, what you doing the rest of your life? Because I'll be here right beside you as long as you want me to be. There's no question. There is nothing I've wanted so much in my life. This might sound immature, but I'm totally sure you're the one." And we had just begun. We got hitched in September, our favorite month, with a rock band that played in this old synagogue. And we bought an apartment on West 17th Street and talked about children and getting a dog. Our first anniversary
Now that we have a
came,
better understanding of the millennium,
and we
what does it mean for
promised
our
to
future?
meet the dad. He had to stop into his office that morning, and so I went walking uptown to this bakery I know, when I heard on the street what I thought was a joke, till I noticed the sirens and saw all the smoke. So I'm running back home with this feeling of dread to the voicemail he left, with the last words he said.
You know I love you, so I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to ruin your evening by bringing up all of this stuff. You're probably wondering why I even called you tonight. Well, today something happened that spooked me alright. I discovered his Fruit Loops still there on the shelf, and I cried and I couldn't get hold of myself. When sure as I breathe, I heard John clear as day saying, "Hey, you're allowed to move on. It's okay, because I'll be here, even if you decide to get rid of my favorite sweater. Even sitting at home, letting all of life's moments pass by. You don't have to cry, because I'll be here when you start going back to the places we went to together. When you take off my ring and you let yourself smile. When you meet someone handsome and patient and true, and he says that he wants to be married to you. When you call him one night and he meets you downtown and you finally answer him yes. Yes, Jason, I will marry you. I will give you my heart. It has taken so long, but I'm ready to start. Right now, John's whispering congrats in my ear, because I finally let myself tell you that I will be here.
We're officially in the 21st century.
So we're told.
All right, good. So it's nice to hear that. We're going to take a look at what the new era holds for us this morning. We'll look into what life will be like.
It was going to be difficult. It was going to be incredibly difficult, and I knew that. I had read books, talked to doctors, a few therapists, self-proclaimed self-help experts, basically anyone who would listen, and none of them told me anything that I wasn't already aware of. The first night was supposed to be the hardest, and the next week or two wouldn't be much better. I'd panic every time she missed one of my calls, and even more when I missed one of hers. This was all normal. Some parents spend a lot of time in their child's empty bedroom. I had my evening tea on the edge of her bed last night, looked out the window and stared at the moon. It was a full moon. It had a silver-gray glow, bright enough to light up the sky. And I told myself that no matter what, we could always look at the same moon at night. One doctor told me to combat symptoms of empty nest by looking at all the free time I had gained. I had one less person to cook for, less wet towels to clean up off the bathroom floor, less late night drives to parties. I had all the free time in the world, and I spent most of it missing her. I didn't miss the wet towels. I missed waking up to her making breakfast. She couldn't open one cupboard without finding a way to drop something. Some mornings, a lot of somethings. And she liked to hum, even sing some days. And I didn't miss the late night drives to parties. But some of those drives home were the greatest moments we'd shared. She'd tell me things she'd never tell anyone. And now these conversations have long-distance charges, and goodbyes might not see another hello for days at a time. And I hear voices in the background. She tells me the names of those voices, but I'm not able to put a face to the name or a personality to the face. I just have to trust that they're good, that she's surrounding herself with good people, and that she's making the right decisions. On the nights I can't sleep, which is all of them, probably because I can't hear her bedroom fan running. On those nights, I find myself questioning everything I taught her. Was it enough? Did I do enough? People said thoughts like this would be normal, and that they might not go away, but they'd get quieter, eventually. People talked a lot about the bad. A lot. And there was bad. A lot. But You know what nobody mentioned? The feeling when she first surprised me with a visit. Or when I finally met her friends and they said, "Oh my God, she never stops talking about you." She called me 3 times when she got her first A on a college test, and every time after. I think when somebody loves you, they come back. It might not look the same as before. I know she's not actually moving back in, but she texts and she calls and she visits. And every night, I know we're looking at the same moon.
First time I heard your voice, moonlight burst into the room, and I saw your eyes, and I saw your smile, and the world opened wide, and the world was inside of me. I catch my breath, and I laugh and blush, and I hear guitars. You are so good for me. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love snow in the moonlight, and your childlike eyes, and your distant smile. I'll never be this happy again. You and I, and no one else. We've done this all before. We were angels once. Don't you remember? Joy and life inside our souls, and nobody knows, just you and me. It's our secret. This winter sky, how can anyone sleep? There was never such a night before. I feel like putting my arms round my knees and squeezing tight as possible, and like this. The snow in the moonlight, and your childlike eyes, and your distant smile. I'll never be this happy again. You and I, you and I, you and I. sitting in the drawing room, and I simply forgot.
I feel like we don't touch on the fact that a shared childhood experience of absolutely everybody is the traumatizing memory of getting lost in the grocery store. I still remember my experience like it happened yesterday. I was in the produce section, my mom across the aisle picking up apples, when a tomato fell out of its crate. I watched the tomato roll across the tiled floor, and I couldn't stop thinking about the chances of someone stepping on it. No, sure, they probably wouldn't fall, but they would definitely ruin a perfectly good pair of shoes. So I went over and picked it up, and in my efforts to put it back, 4 more came crashing to the floor. So I guess that's what I get for trying to be helpful. But luckily, an employee saw me struggling, and he came to my rescue. But when I turned around to return to my mother's side, I realized she was gone. I scanned the area, and when I only saw unfamiliar faces, I started to panic. Now, my mom wore a red coat everywhere we went. Red was her favorite color, but she also wore it so that she could stand out in a crowd. So I searched for the color red in a sea of apples, strawberries, and tomatoes. Now, eventually I did find her, but this was only after accepting my fate and realizing that I'd have to spend the rest of my life living in a grocery store. You know, looking back, probably not the worst place to end up, but the wave of relief that washed over me when I saw that red coat. I ran into my mother's arms, leg. I ran into her leg, and get this, she barely even realized I had gone missing. She said I was only gone for 5 minutes, but I was sure it was at least an hour. You know, maybe she was in on it, some kind of ploy, because I never left her side when we were out. Until I was almost 16, but I also never got lost in the grocery store again. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I'm taken back to that moment. It's like I'm not actually in a store frantically searching for my mother, but there are definitely times where I don't know what I'm supposed to do or where I'm supposed to go. It's like being in the grocery store, but it isn't. Am I in a store? Well, no, not usually. Am I lost? Well, most of the time, yes, if I'm being honest. Am I panicking? Sometimes. Sometimes I just get so overwhelmed by the fact that I don't know what's happening next that I honestly miss when I was lost in that grocery store. You know, that day, my solution was over in the aisle. All I had to do was find a red coat, run to my mother, and it was over. But these days, it's just a little more complicated.
Time heals everything. Tuesday, Thursday. Time heals everything. April, August. If I'm patient, the break will mend, and one fine morning the hurt will end. So make the moments fly, autumn. August, autumn, winter, next year, some year. Time heals everything. Time heals everything but loving you. Some Tuesday, Thursday, April, August, autumn, winter, next year, some year. Time heals everything. Time heals everything but
We all talk a lot about that magical moment. The time in your life where the universe decides to let everything line up, even if it's just for a moment, and you meet your person. The undeniable connection between two soulmates burns bright, but it's somehow soft. Maybe it's like the glow of a campfire, or the sun for those few perfect moments during golden hour. When the world fills with this quiet sweetness, it's like nature in all its beauty is dipped in honey. The final moments of sunshine leave behind a warmth like that of true love. We talk about these moments. So sparse, so rare. We dream about them when we close our eyes. In a world of billions, numbers our brains can't even begin to comprehend, loneliness is still never out of reach. Many strangers say exactly that. Strangers. Faces in a crowd. Maybe ones you've seen a few times, never putting a name to. Moments of connection, the true spark of knowing you've met someone that you're meant to, they're what we thrive on. Call them soulmates, twin flames, chosen family. There's a million names for lovers and all their forms. We talk about these lovers a lot. About how they come, but not so much about how they go. How sometimes you're meant to meet someone, fall in love even, but they're not meant to stay. Not forever anyways. Sometimes they leave and we know it's coming. Even if we don't want it to be true, we know. Other times you're both surprised. Anything can happen last minute. Life can change in an instant. Every day really is just a guessing game, isn't it? Once you find someone, something wonderful, you hold on to it. But really, we're just hoping that they choose to stay.
Hey, it's B. Leave a message.
Everyone said I would know once I got here. I wouldn't have to ask any questions, no double checking, no second guessing. I would just know. They said there'd be fireworks, butterflies, that punch you in the gut feeling that you just know, which, if I'm being honest, doesn't sound the most romantic. Being punched, that is. But I do know. I know when I look at you, I know when I'm close to you, and I know when we're apart because I wish we weren't. But it's not what they said it would be like. You know, all my life I've dealt with butterflies. I deal with them in line at the grocery store, or when I'm waiting for the bus, and I know I have a question for the bus driver. Their anxious buzzing was never something I craved. I mean, what's romantic about bugs, anyway, in your stomach? I never even liked fireworks growing up. They were bright and beautiful for a moment, but they were too loud. There's no insects with you. No fireworks to startle me when they explode. For the first time in my life, I feel calm. Your arms are a home I keep craving, and your touch makes the buzzing stop. I don't ask questions. I don't have to. It comes naturally, like breathing. Oddly enough, I have asthma, so in a way, it's even easier. This isn't the part of the whole spiel where I say, you're my whole world. Mostly because that's a lot of pressure to put on someone. You're not my missing piece. I wasn't less than whole before we met. I'm just really happy that we did.
Honestly strange. I mean, I was out of breath and sweating like I expected, but when I finally got to the top of the hill and could catch my breath, I realized how quiet it was. I could hear the wind and the snow kept crunching underneath me, but in my head, nothing. I kept listening to my breathing and watching it curl around me. I felt my bangs sticking to my forehead. I even felt my eyelashes brush my cheeks. I remember what Evie and I had talked about. How anxiety made everything so loud all the time. I don't think I knew what to do at first when I realized that it wasn't. I thought back to when we got a new washing machine, the weirdness that had settled into the house once the buzzing had stopped, as if to remind us that it was lived in. You get so used to something, and then when it goes away, everything changes. And it did, just for that moment. I couldn't stop smiling. A truck passed by me, and I realized that I probably looked insane, smiling like an idiot at the top of some hill by myself, but I was just really happy for the first time in, I don't know, a year, probably more. And no one was there to see it, but I was okay with that. I think it was necessary. It was mine to celebrate. Whatever it is. I'm still not exactly sure.
Someone to hold you too close. Someone to hurt you too deep. Someone to sit in your chair, to ruin your sleep, to make you aware of being alive, being alive. Someone to need you too much, someone to know like it or not. Well, I want you to share a little, a lot, is being alive, being alive. Someone to crowd you with love, someone to force you to care, someone to make you come through, who'll always be there, as frightened as you, of being alive, being alive, being alive, being alive. Somebody hold me too close. Somebody hurt me too deep. Somebody sit in my chair and ruin my sleep and make me aware of being alive, being alive. Somebody need me too much. Somebody know me too well. Somebody pull me up short, put me through hell, and give me support for being alive. Make me alive. Make me alive. Make me confused. Mock me with praise. Let me be used. Vary my days. But alone is alone, not alive. Somebody crowd me with love. Somebody force me to care. Somebody make me come through. I'll always be there, as frightened as you, of being alive, being alive, being alive, being alive.
My grandma used to ask me a lot of questions. I have this one memory I always come back to of her and I watching the sunset. And she turns to me and asks, "What are you thinking about?" I said, "School." I had a math test the next week and I was way behind in studying for it. She started asking me what I was thinking about every time we watched the sunset. The answer was usually school. You know, after every test, there was always another. I'd finish each assignment just to go on worrying about the next. I think that's why I never liked school that much. Or at all, really. My grades were good. I did well, but I felt like I could never celebrate my successes because behind them was 30 more things to worry about. Okay, 30 is a tad drastic, but you get the point. I'd usually start counting down the days till summer, around March, sometimes even earlier. I had this little calendar and I'd mark a red X on each day I got through. That felt good sometimes. It showed me how far I'd come and how close I was to the shred of sanity that comes with summer break. To celebrate, my grandma took me and my sister to the beach. I was watching my sister skip rocks on the shoreline and wade out into the water to escape the heat. I was content in the sun. I sat in a beach chair and my grandma sat down next to me. What are you thinking about? College. I was headed into grade 12, which meant prom, graduation, college applications. I felt overwhelmed and I hadn't even started. I rambled on and on and on about all the scholarships I would apply for when a question came into my head. What are you thinking about, Grandma? She smiled. I almost felt bad coming to the realization that I had never asked her that before. She looked out at my sister as she spoke, mostly because we did have to make sure she didn't drown. I'm thinking of the sun and the sand and the sound of the waves. And your sister's laugh every time a rock she throws skips more than 2 times. I'm thinking of the peanut butter sandwiches we had for lunch. It all sounded so simple. She continued, I could think of your mother and how I know she's having a hard time helping you pay for college. Or your father who's working 2 jobs. I was sensing a but. I just don't think worrying about all of those things right now is gonna change anything. So why not focus on what I have right now? And with the 2 of you, the sun shining, I'm happy right now. I'm not gonna get worked up over a future I haven't even lived yet. She kept talking. She asked me, when was the last time I was happy? Like, actually experiencing a moment of time where I was happy enough not to let my mind wander to a million other things. But I was embarrassed when I couldn't answer. She told me I was young and I had time to worry. But as I got older, I'd realize it was a waste. She told me some people spend their whole lives worrying and searching and waiting. But those people don't realize that life's not waiting with them. It passes us all by, and it's up to you to experience it. Otherwise, it'll pass us by like a sunset. In a matter of moments, the colors, the warm light, the beaming sun rays will be gone. And we'll have missed something beautiful.